Hello everyone, good evening. I'm Ankit and you're watching the Indian Express analysis on StudyIQ IS English channel. Now today is 6th of March and we are going to discuss important articles for today. Wait for this to respond. Good evening Lydia, Bagas Pings, Augustine, Yashi, Shushmita, every one of you, very good evening. Now these are the 7 articles that we have taken up today for our discussion. We'll start off with the survey of Indian river dolphin, as the survey was recently conducted and this was the very first survey. An Indian river dolphin is abundantly available in Indian freshwater river systems like Ganga, Brahmaputra, etc. So we'll understand the behavioral patterns of this river dolphin, which is a endangered species. Now for any species that are in use, we have to realize, or we have to understand 3 aspects of it: habit, habitats, as well as its protection status, right? So if we cover these 3 details about any species that are in use, we are covered for our prelims examination. And this primarily is important from GS paper 3 perspective, that is the environment syllabus, right? Then we'll be moving on to an economy based article which appeared in today's newspaper in the business section, and it states that RBI has announced a step to infuse liquidity in India's banking system. What are these steps? How it will actually infuse liquidity in the banking system? We'll try to understand this in addition to solving a practice question on this very own topic, right? Now this is again part of economy syllabus, therefore the relevant syllabus mapping is GS paper 3. Then we'll move on to another scheme which is given in the PIB actually today. So I have taken this scheme from PIB. Now it has been highlighted that the number of enrollment as per this particular scheme, PM Shram Yogi Maandhan scheme, has actually increased, and the government has also increased the budgetary outlay for this particular scheme. So therefore this scheme becomes important. Also you'll be surprised to know that in the prelims of the year 2024, a question actually appeared on this scheme. So we'll be understanding this scheme, how it provides pension benefits to the workers in unorganized sector, what are the key benefits, what are its eligibility criteria. We'll all cover that in our today's discussion. Then we'll move on to Lake Tanganyika. I've actually practiced its pronunciation, but I still fumbled. Tanganyika. Now this Tanganyika lake is actually located in Africa. We'll try to understand the characteristic of this lake, and also if there is a water body in the news, what you have to realize is that what are the adjoining countries of that water body, what are the rivers that might flow into this water body, because such water bodies have frequently been asked in the prelims examination. For example, in 2022, a question appeared on a particular lake in West Africa, not this lake, but a lake in West Africa. Similarly, in 2024 prelims, a question appeared on Red Sea, but they did not ask you what were the adjoining countries, rather they asked you what kind of rivers were flowing into Red Sea. So therefore, these kind of geographical details, these are important for our prelims perspective, and we'll try to understand this with perspective of this particular lake, right? So this becomes important from places in news, right? And then we'll understanding the phenomena of solar maximum, as currently there is a phenomena of solar maximum going on, and this is because of why many space agencies like ISRO, NASA, European space agencies, they are sending their probe near to the sun to check the levels of solar maximum. So we'll try to understand how this process of solar maximum actually happens, what are its implications for Earth and also for the global climate, right? Then we'll understand another important commodity which has been in news. This commodity actually originates in Africa and has wide use in our food products, known as gum arabic. So what is this gum arabic, where it is produced, what are its characteristics? We'll try to understand this in our today's discussion. This is also kind of important from GS paper 3 syllabus, as this is primarily an agricultural commodity. Then we'll be understanding issues related to delimitation. Now if you remember our session on Monday, you'll recall that we have discussed some of the important provisions about delimitation, particularly from prelims perspective, right? But today there were 2 articles in the newspaper dealing with the issues and suggestions related to delimitation. So we'll try to understand those issues in detail, but do not worry, I've attached also the slides of our Monday discussion. So you'll be provided with the entire slide in our today's notes. So need not worry about that. Now this is important from GS paper 2 perspective, as delimitation, it is a part of polity syllabus, right? So this is the sum total of articles that we are going to discuss. Now Niranjan, Sejal, Rishav, good evening everyone. Now, as usual, the notes for this session will be available on my Telegram channel, ATS Live. So please make sure to subscribe to this channel. You can search for this channel on the top right hand corner of your mobile app. Alternatively, you can scan this QR code. Please remember to type ATS Live if you have to go to my channel, right? Now, this channel, you can also upload your answers after the completion of the channel. As I give you a particular question, you have to write this question borrowing from the explanation that I provide you in the session. And please inculcate this habit if you really want to be very serious about your exam and if you want to clear your mains exam, right? So, daily answer writing habit and a good answer or a good answer goes a long way in making the chances or possibility of you clearing the mains exam, right? Now, let us start at today's session. First of all, we'll discuss yesterday's practice question, which was actually a PYQ of the year 2023 about 3/4 of the world's cobalt, a metal required for manufacturing of batteries for electric motor vehicles. These are produced in which country? Now, many of you have come up with the answer: Democratic Republic of Congo. Shushmita, Gibson, Baga, Yashi, Lydia, all of you are correct. Yes, option C actually is the right answer to this practice question. Now, another mains question that we will be taking up today is the process of delimitation. We have to address how it helps in maintaining the democratic principle of equal representation. Also, we have to address the concerns about the regional imbalances and federalism in India that might happen due to implementation of the newer delimitation. So, we'll also have to suggest measures so as to ensure balanced representation while addressing the concerns of states with lower population growth, particularly the southern states in our country like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra, Telangana as well as Karnataka, right? So this is how we'll try to write our answer. Now, first of all, let us start our today's discussion with the explained article in the newspaper which appeared on page 15. And if you look closely, this article actually highlights about the first ever comprehensive survey in India about the river dolphin, right? So this is the context of this article, that India recently conducted its first ever survey or detailed population survey about the Gangetic dolphin, which is actually a freshwater dolphins available in the freshwater bodies like lakes and rivers. Now, these are the only riverine dolphins which are available in the country. There are other species of riverine dolphin which we'll try to understand. Now, the estimation survey was actually done by an institute under the Union Ministry known as Wildlife Institute of India, and with the active help of many organizations. It covered the main channels and tributaries of rivers Ganga, Brahmaputra as well as Beas River in Punjab, right? So this is the context of this article. Now, what did I tell you about any species that are in news? What you have to realize or what you have to understand is their habits, habitats as well as their protection status. So these three facts are important. If any important species is in news, please make it a habit of understanding these three important facts. Now, first, let us understand the important habitats of Gangetic river dolphin. Now, it was declared as India's national aquatic animal in 2009, and this is one of 4 freshwater dolphin species that are available across the world. One is Gangetic river dolphin, which is available in countries like India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. And other 3 are known as Baiji, which is available in Yangtze River of China, Bhulan, which is located in Indus River of Pakistan, and Boto, which is actually available in the Amazon River in the South America. Now, this Gangetic river dolphin, it is found in rivers Ganga, Brahmaputra, Meghnad, Karnafuli, Sangu river systems in India, Nepal as well as Bangladesh. So if a question comes, does this particular species of dolphin only available in India? The answer would be not. They are available in Nepal and Bangladesh. Also, there is a specific dolphin sanctuary particularly dedicated to this species located in Bihar known as Vikramshila Gangetic Dolphin Sanctuary. So please remember these facts. So this was the known habitats of the Gangetic river dolphin. Now let us understand the habits of this particular species. Now if you can remember, this species, like many other dolphin, has a long pointed snout with sharp teeth. They have poor eyesight and therefore to navigate they rely on the process of echolocation, that is the transfer of sound waves, which helps them navigate through the uncharted territories of river, and it helps them not just navigate but also look for fishes so as to hunt. Now these kind of dolphins, these are only able to live in fresh water, so they can't technically live in salty water like sea waters, okay? And in terms of the size and characteristic, the females dolphin or female Gangetic dolphins, these are larger in size as compared to males, and they give birth to about one calf every 2 to 3 years. Now these dolphins, they cannot breathe like other dolphins underwater, so therefore they have lungs, and in order to get fresh air, they surface every 30 to 120 seconds to breathe fresh air, as it is a mammal, right? So please remember this fact, that they have to surface every 30 to 120 seconds so as to breathe the fresh air, as they cannot breathe underwater unlike other fishes. Now these river dolphins, they live only in opaque and turbid water, and they briefly appear on the surface. Therefore estimating or their survey is actually quite difficult, and despite this difficulty, the survey has actually happened. So you can understand, India can go wrong in many things, but it can also go right in many things. One of this is this example, right? Now let us talk about the protection status or the conservation status. Now in terms of IUCN status, this is categorized as an endangered species, not as a critically endangered species, please remember. And in terms of the Wildlife Protection Act, it is extended the highest protection, that is Schedule 1, which means hunting and capturing of this particular dolphin is prohibited by law. And also in terms of CITES, these are categorized as Appendix 1 species. So please remember these facts. Now that we have understood the habits, habitats, as well as the protection status of dolphins or river dolphins in particular, let us understand what are the threats that pose to the lives of these dolphins. Now first is that the habitat of these dolphins are subjected to frequent degradation, and this might result from pollution in the water bodies that may emanate from industries, agricultural pollution like the inflow of fertilizers and its residues into the water bodies. Sorry for this spelling. Like if fertilizers like urea, if they go into the water bodies, it leads to the problem of eutrophication, which is actually the absence of oxygen in water, and this is a form of pollution, right? So that is why runoffs from industries, agriculture, even construction of dams and barrages, they fragment the habitats of these Gangetic dolphin, which reduces the population and its connectivity. So therefore these dolphins, they cannot increase their population because of this habitat destruction. Also important for the threat is the water abstraction. Now whenever excessive water is withdrawn from the river for the purposes of agriculture and also for industrial use, it impacts the normal flow of river, and normal flow of river is very important as far as protection of fishes are concerned. So therefore it is also a result of the threat that might pose to the river dolphins. Also riverbed alteration that may happen due to construction of dam, barrages, processes like sand mining and dredging exercises, which disrupts their habitats and their living areas. And also accidental entanglement may also happen, as these fishes, they are prone to be caught in the fishing nets, and therefore it can also pose immediate threat to their lives. So these are the threat that is present for the Gangetic river dolphin. Now let us understand about the population survey. Now the population survey that was conducted recently, it estimated the population of Gangetic river dolphins in India to about 6,234, and in terms of river basins where these dolphins are available, the highest number of them are present in Ganga, followed by Brahmaputra, and in Beas river only 3 river dolphins were found that were Indus river dolphin and not the Gangetic river dolphin. Now in terms of states, Bihar is the most dolphin friendly state due to ideal river morphology and also due to the higher water depth. So this is the reason why Bihar is known as the most friendly dolphin state. Now despite this, Bihar being called as the most friendly dolphin state, is Bihar having the highest population of river dolphins? We'll try to find out in the next slide. But before that, you have to understand that Chausa Manihari stretch, which stretches of around 590 kilometers, it has the presence of 1297 dolphin, making it one of the densest population of river dolphins in India. So this was related to Bihar, and I told you, right, it is the most dolphin friendly state. But does Bihar has the highest amount of dolphins in the country? The answer is actually no. It is not Bihar but Uttar Pradesh which has the highest number of dolphin population at about 2,397. This is followed by about 2,220 in Bihar, 815 in West Bengal, 635 in Assam, followed by minor population in states like Jharkhand, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Whereas 3 are present in Punjab, and these are Indus river dolphins. Now the study was actually conducted by Wildlife Institute of India, which is a part of Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change, along with the support from State Forest Department and non-profit organizations like Aranyak, WWF, Turtle Survival Alliance and Wildlife Trust of India. Now this is not World Wrestling Federation or WWE, this is Wildlife, WWF, a separate entity. So please do not get confused with that. Good evening, Deepak. Rishabh sir, please extend the duration of submission of practice question solutions at least for 10 p.m. See Rishabh, I'll give you a half hour grace just for today, so that if you can submit by 8:30 today, I'll consider your plea. Okay? Is it agreeable, Rishabh? Hello, Amar. Slumflower Congo. Yes, you're right. Slumflower. What a funny name it is. Good evening, Deepak. Now let us try to solve this question. This question is actually a PYQ which appeared in the UPSC in 2014. And if you can see, other than poaching, what are the possible reasons for decline in population of Ganga river dolphin? Now tell me the correct answer. Quickly. We do not have much time today. There are 7 articles that we have to cover. So be very quick. I'll get out of your way. One, 3, 4. ये सब तुम लोग गूगल करते रहते हो ना बीच बीच में बैठ के? सबका सही आंसर है. वेरी फन, वेरी सरप्राइजिंग. Yes, option C is correct. Actually, increase in population of crocodile in rivers is actually not the reason for decrease in population of Gangetic river dolphin. Other 3 are the correct answer. So every one of you is right. Now let us move to the next article. No, Deepak, फिर से एक बार देख लो. Option D is not correct. Option C is right. 1, 3 and 4. Now, let us move to the next article. This article actually appeared in the business page of the Indian Express newspaper, and it highlights that RBI has announced a step to infuse liquidity in the banking system, as much as 1.8 lakh crore worth of liquidity. Now, how this liquidity is happening, this will become quite clear if you look at the context of today's discussion. It states that this liquidity will take place through the process of open market operation and through a $10 billion rupee swap auction. Now, how this operations actually infuses liquidity in the banking system, that we'll try to understand in our today's discussion. Now, what is forex swap? Now, US dollar INR buy sell swap auctions that happen, and it can actually increase or decrease the liquidity in the banking system. Now, in this operation, the RBI will conduct a swap option for $10 billion for a tenure of 36 months, and the maturity period of this auction will be 36 months, and it will be held on March 24, 2025. This date not important for our today's discussion. What is important? That some amount of dollar will be given to the banks or will be bought for the banks, which will actually result into increase or decrease in liquidity in the banking system. Now, let me tell you how this increase in liquidity will happen. Suppose this is what is called as a buy-sell swap, and in this buy-sell swap, what RBI will do is that it will buy $10 billion from the banks in India, and in return for this $10 billion, RBI will provide them with rupee. Now, the equivalent rupee for this $10 billion is about 85 to 86,000 crore rupees, and this much liquidity will be made available to the banks as RBI is buying dollars from him, and in return they are providing him with rupee. So this is how the swap auction helps in increasing the liquidity of the bank. And if this was actually opposite, sell by swap, in that case RBI will sell dollars and absorb excess liquidity from the banking system. Understood? Now, this swap, it will mature in 36 months. So RBI technically, what it has brought dollars from the banks, that is $10 billion, it will return these dollars back to the banks after the maturity period, that is 36 months. So in this 36 months, the banks will use this rupee, 86,000 crore worth of rupee, and it will extend loans to many of its customers. So this results into increase in money supply or increase in liquidity with the banking system. Understood? So this is what forex swap auction is. Now let us understand how open market operation helps in the increase in liquidity. Now similarly in open market operation, what RBI does is that it sells or buy government securities from the banks, and the resultant transaction will allow RBI to give or buy rupee from the banks. Understood? Now this open market operation, currently it is expected to increase the liquidity of about 1 lakh crore rupees, and this will happen in 2 equal tranches. This is not important. What is important, that this much worth amount of liquidity will be provided by the banks. Now in open market operation, what RBI will do, that it will purchase government securities that is there with the banks, and in return the RBI will provide banks with the necessary rupees, that is about 1 lakh crore rupees, and therefore it increases also the money supply, which results into increase in liquidity from the banking system. Understood how this forex swap auctions and also the open market operation helps in increase of liquidity? You have any doubt? Now is the right time to ask me. Otherwise, I'll move forward with this practice question. With reference to open market operations conducted by the RBI, consider the following statements. Open market operations, these refer to the purchase and sale of government securities in the open market by the RBI to regulate liquidity in the economy. This is a correct statement, right? Okay. Not enough time to Google. Now, during periods of high inflation, the RBI conducts open market operation by purchasing government securities and injecting the liquidity in the economy. Is this second statement correct? Can anyone tell me? See, I know the answer. I have made this question. I want you to answer this first. Second statement, why isn't second statement correct then? Bagas Pink says option A, Amar says 1. I guess option A, both of you are saying is correct. Why is second statement incorrect? Tell me that. I want you to explain it to me why second statement is correct. I forgot instantly. Yes. Suppose during the high inflation, what happens in case of high inflation? In cases of high inflation, there is a problem that money supply is already high. So if RBI purchases government securities, it will further increase money supply, and this we don't want, right? So to control inflation, what we require to do is reduce the money supply. And how do we reduce money supply? By selling the government securities to the banks and absorbing the money out of banks. So therefore second statement becomes incorrect. Only one is right. Option A therefore is the right answer. Rishabh, फिर से एक बार देख लो. Option A is right. To absorb excess money, we have to. Yes, exactly. Now let us move to this next article. Now someone commented yesterday, sir, why don't you cover PIB? So I decided to make it a point to cover PIB today, and what I saw this was this particular piece of scheme that is covered in the PIB. Now this scheme is actually the Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Maandhan Yojana, which ensures financial security to the workers who are engaged in the India's unorganized sector. What is unorganized sector? Workers who do not have a particular job, they are freelancers, they do not get salary, rather they get payment only for the amount of work that they do for the company. Also the roadside vendors, etc., who are not registered with the government, these are the examples of unorganized worker. And you can understand these workers are financially very vulnerable, right? They do not have a proper salary, and what if they stop working? They'll not have any kind of savings that they can rely on, right? So the government with this scheme wants to ensure that these people actually have some kind of savings, so that after they retire from their jobs or from whatever they do, they actually have some saving that will help them live their lives in a better manner, right? So this is what Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Maandhan Yojana actually does. And in this year's budget, the Union Finance Minister, she increased the budgetary outlay for this scheme by about 37% compared to last year. Therefore, this scheme becomes very important. Now, what about this scheme? This is actually a voluntary and a contributory pension scheme. So is it a mandatory scheme? The answer obviously is not. India is a democratic country. You can't make it mandatory on people. You have to encourage them to get the scheme, but overall this scheme remains voluntary, and the contribution is actually made by both the beneficiaries of this scheme and this government. How? We'll try to understand this. Now the intention of this scheme is to provide social security to workers who are engaged in the unorganized sector. Understood? So these workers, as I've already told you, they are very vulnerable. They do not have huge amount of salaries or income. So how can they make savings? So if the government comes up with such schemes, these are actually intended to benefit this particular kind of population. Now this is a central sector scheme, and by central sector scheme I mean that the 100% of funding for this scheme is provided by the central government and no contribution is made at all by the state governments, and the nodal ministry for this scheme is the Union Ministry of Labour and Employment, and the pension fund manager of this scheme is the Life Insurance Corporation of India, right? So nodal ministry is different, which is the implementing authority. Pension fund manager is actually which manages the pension fund. It will take the money for you, it will save the money for you, and then after you retire, this particular Life Insurance Corporation or LIC will provide you with the pension. And in terms of coverage, there were some facts given in the article. So please remember these facts. 36 states and union territories are covered under this scheme, and enrollments under the scheme has gone beyond in the number of 46 lakh. And the top 3 states in terms of enrollment are Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra. Okay. Now, what are the benefits under this scheme? This benefits becomes very important, right? Now, the minimum assured pension of the beneficiaries, that they will get about 3,000 rupees every month after they attain the age of 60 years. So please remember this. This is only available to people after 60 years, that every month they'll get at least 3,000 rupees. And the family pension is available not just to the beneficiary, but for unforeseen reason or God forbid, even if the beneficiary dies, then the spouse will receive 50% of the pension in cases of the death of the subscriber. Now, the family pension is applicable only to spouses. That means the sons and daughters, will be they getting any benefits under this scheme? The answer is no. Only this is available to the spouse. Now the scheme, as I told you, is voluntary and flexible. That means the workers, they contribute a fixed monthly amount under the scheme, and the same month or same amount is matched by the government. So for example, you are providing 100 rupees every month on your own account, then the government will also add 100 rupees in your own name. So therefore, this is a contributory scheme, and the monthly contribution, it actually varies based on the enrollment age. So suppose if you have enrolled under this scheme at a very young age, so your contribution will be lower. But suppose if you have enrolled it at a later age, your contribution necessarily would be higher, because you have to contribute a certain amount up till 60 years of age, right? So this is the logic. So therefore, the contribution, it actually varies as per the age. Now, the age limit of this scheme is that people between 18 to 40 years of age, they can enroll for this scheme, and the income limit below which for the scheme is available, it is if the person has monthly income of less than or equal to 15,000 rupees, then they are eligible for this scheme. Now, which kind of people are covered? Employment, or who are employed in the unorganized sectors like street vendors, daily wage laborers, construction workers, BD workers, domestic workers, fishermen, artisans, etc. And the people who are excluded out of the scheme are people who are currently covered under the EPF, ESIC, NPS benefits, who are an income taxpayer and who are receiving any other government pension benefits. These people are actually excluded from this scheme. Understood? Now, this is the question that appeared in the prelims of 2024. So let's see if you can solve this question. I didn't understand 100 rupees concept. Well, Sejal, suppose you have enrolled for this scheme. You might not be eligible, but I am giving a hypothetical example, right? So suppose as per your age, the monthly contribution that you are required to make is 100 rupees every month. Okay. So suppose if you give 100 rupees under your name in the scheme, then the government will equally deposit 100 rupees in your scheme. Similarly, if you had given, or if you are eligible to give 200 rupees, similar manner or similar money will also be contributed by the government on behalf of your name. So that is why your contribution is half, rest half is provided by the government. Understood now, Sejal? Now solve this question fast everyone. Shushmita, Baga, Amar, Yashib, all of you say option B, that is 2 and 3 is right. Why is first and fourth not correct? Well, entry age is 18 to 40 years. So first statement becomes incorrect. Age specific contribution shall be made by the beneficiary. Yes, it is right. Each subscriber under the scheme shall receive a monthly pension scheme of 3,000 rupees per month after attaining the age of 60 years. Correct. Family pension is applicable to the spouse and unmarried daughters. Spouse is correct. Unmarried daughters is not. Therefore, 2 and 3 is right. Option B is correct. Yes, not for children. सब Google करके आए हो. Now let us move to this next article. This actually appeared in the UN's website. I've taken a screenshot because I felt this was very important and you should not miss out on these kind of articles. Okay. Now this article actually states that the bordering countries of the Lake Tanganyika, which is located in Africa or Central Africa particularly, they've launched a 5-year project to assess and address the transboundary threats to the biodiversity of this lake basin. And this initiative is taken under the UN Environment Program led initiative, which is funded also by the Global Environment Facility. Now this particular initiative aims to enhance the transboundary cooperation among these countries so that they can actually protect the biodiversity of this particular Lake Tanganyika. Now in this regard, this lake and its adjoining geography becomes important, and if you can see from this map, this particular piece of water body is your Lake Tanganyika, and you can see the length of this water body. It is so huge, and the west bordering countries are Democratic Republic of Congo, Tanzania, Zambia, and in the north it is Burundi, right? So these are the countries which are adjoining the Lake Tanganyika, and this is in the Central Africa. Okay, now let us understand the location of this is Central Africa. Bordering countries, as I've told you, Burundi, DRC, Tanzania as well as Zambia. So there are 4 bordering countries, and these countries have actually gotten together to increase the cooperation so as to protect the biodiversity of this particular lake. Now the characteristic of this lake, it is the second largest freshwater lake in the whole world by volume and the second deepest lake globally. Then the question might be, which is the first or the largest freshwater lake or the deepest lake globally? I'll tell you. Do not worry. Now also this is the longest freshwater lake in the world. So in terms of its size, it is second largest. In terms of its deepness, it is second deepest. But in terms of length, this is the longest freshwater lake in the world. And the main inflow of rivers into this lake is Ruizizi River, Malagasy River, Kavu as well as Lufubu rivers, which originate from Tanzania. Malagasy river is from also Tanzania, and Ruizi river is from Lake Kivu. Understood these facts? Now let me know the correct answer to this question. This is a very similar question to the PYQ 2022. I have changed the wordings of this question so as to suit our today's discussion, right? Now, which of the following lakes is the world's largest freshwater lake by volume and also the world's deepest lake? Which of these 4 is the correct option? Let me tell you, do not, for the paucity of time, this is Lake Baikal, which is the world's largest lake by volume and also the deepest lake. And the second largest and the second most deepest was the Lake Tanganyika. Understood this? अफ्रीका में बहुत गर्मी होती है सर, दिसंबर जनवरी को भी विंटर नहीं है. वेल हमारे सदर्न स्टेट्स में कहां होता है ऐसा? सुष्मिता सी, नो वेलू सी नहीं, दैट इज सेकेंड लार्जेस्ट. Baikal is the largest, right? I told you in the discussion, Lake Tanganyika is the second largest and the second deepest. If it was longest in terms of length, that would have been Lake Tanganyika. Okay. Now, as I tell you every day, suppose there is a possibility that people might not understand the very basic concepts of the question, right? Suppose I told you about forex swap and open market operation, but there are other methods also which RBI uses to increases the liquidity. But what if they are not covered in the current affairs, and how do you understand that? So for that, we make sure to enroll our students into the Sampoorn batch, which is actually a foundation batch which covers your learnings entirely from the prelims to mains, right? So for that, or to register for those courses, what you have to do is you have to go to our website. This is our website, you have to first create an account, click on explore courses here, right? Now suppose the students who might not be very comfortable with Hindi, we understand this problem, and for that we have brought a course specifically in English that you can access under this bar. The first bar opens here. It will take you, if you click UPSC IAS English, it will take you to the courses that are available exclusively in English. Now click on this particular batch. You can see the prices of this batch will increase by 7th of March. Currently it is available at 36,249. But from the code that might be appearing on the bottom half of your screen, you can use that code and get further discounts. And how to apply the code, let me tell you the way. Now you can see add promo code here, right? Click on add promo code. You have to enter coupon code here. Enter the code ATS Live, which is given on the bottom half of your screen, and click apply. And see, from 36,249, this value has reduced to 28,999. So please, by using the code ATS Live, you can save as much as 7,250 rupees, which is a huge sum amount of money. You can use it productively for other purposes, both personal or study related. It's your choice. But that is possible only if you apply the code which will get you the discount. Understood? Now let us move to the next article of the day. This article actually appeared in the explain section and it tells us about the solar maximum. Now this kind of an article becomes important from science and tech syllabus. Therefore, we are covering this article under the syllabus of GS paper 3. Now the NASA, it is set to launch its latest solar mission known as polarimeter to unify the corona and heliosphere, that is known as Punch, and it will be the third major solar mission to be launched in the past 18 months. Now what are these other two missions? We'll try to cover it today, need not worry. Now you have understood this trend, right? So there is an increase in number of solar missions, and this is not a coincidence. Why? Because the reason behind this is the solar cycle. So what is solar cycle? Let us try to understand this. Now solar cycle is actually a 11-year cycle of changes in sun's magnetic field and activity. Now because of this changes in magnetic field, what we have seen that the number of sunspots in the sun's surface, it changes from minimum amount of sunspots to larger amount of sunspots, and it changes the way sun behaves generally. Suppose there is a phenomena of solar maximum, and this is the phenomena where sun is at its most active state, and in this particular active state the magnetic field of the sun, it actually flips. As the magnetic field of sun, it actually changes every 11 years, and because of this solar cycle happens. Now in the solar maximum, the magnetic field of the solar or the sun flips, and it leads to increase in activity, which leads to release of intense bursts of radiation and particles into the space. And therefore during the solar maximum, you will see that the sun will emit large amount of solar flares and also emit coronal mass injections. Now because of these solar flares, whenever they reach near to the Earth's atmosphere, you will witness northern and southern lights, which is an atmospheric phenomena. But this is a normal phenomena. What if the amount of solar flares increases? So it can destroy technically the satellites which are in the outer space. So we have to ensure, first of all, we have to understand the changes in solar cycle and make remedial measures accordingly. So therefore studying of the solar maximum and solar minimums becomes very important. And in the contrary, in solar minimum, the sun is at its least active phase, and because of that the number of flares or the eruptions from the sun, they decrease significantly. Understood the difference between solar maximum and reduction? Sir, where is exactly this article? It was in yesterday's explain section. Now the solar cycle, how it works, let me tell you. Now I told you, right, unlike Earth, solar's or sun's magnetic field, it changes every 11 years. So technically the north pole, it becomes south pole every 11 years in the sun, and because of this changes in magnetic field, this generates the movement of electrically charged particles in the sun, and approximately every 11 years the sun's magnetic poles, they switch places, marking the start of solar cycle. Understood? Auroras are the product of same solar cycle? No, these are the product of the solar flares when they reach Earth's atmosphere. Then when they interact with the Earth's magnetic field, which is the outermost layer of our atmosphere, it leads to northern poles and the northern lights and southern lights. So this is a normal event which happens every time the sun emits its flares. But what if these flares becomes much more than usual, right? So technically it will destroy these objects that are present in our outer space, right? Like space station, satellites, etc. Understood, Baga Sphinx? यार बागा अपना नाम बताओ. बागा स्पिंक्स बोल बोल के समझ नहीं आता. Right. Now the role of sunspots in tracking of solar cycle. What is the role of sunspots? Right. Now sunspots, these are dark, cooler regions in the sun surface whenever the magnetic field is particularly strong. So you can understand whenever in case of solar cycle how the sunspot changes. So suppose if there is more sunspot in the sun, you can say that the sun is under the process of solar maximum or it is moving towards solar maximum. Or when there is fewer amount of sunspots or very less amount of sunspots, in that case it will be the process of solar minimum. You will get a clear picture from this particular diagram. So you can see when the sun is at a solar maximum, there are some solar spots or black spots in the sun, whereas it is almost absent in cases of solar minimum. Understood? So studying these kind of sunspots, they are very essential to understand whether sun is under the solar maximum or solar minimum, right? Now, why are actually more solar missions being launched to the sun right now? I told you, right, current solar observations, they suggest that the sun is nearing its solar maximum, although there is no official confirmation right now. According to National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which comes under the US government, it has said that the solar activity has been above normal since May 2022 and it continues to remain high even in 2024, and this is because it is the best time to send probes, and therefore solar maximum is the best possible window which is available to physicists to launch and observe the sun. Otherwise, if they miss this particular window, the next window will come only in 2035 and 2036. So therefore, they'll have to wait 10-11 years more. So this particularly is the best window to send a probe to study the sun surface. Okay. Now, therefore, I told you, right, in the beginning of our discussion, Punch is the third actual mission to be sent on the sun. First is our own Aditya L1 mission, which was launched in 2023, and it is designed to study solar flares and solar winds and measure low intensity magnetic field and also the solar soft X-ray flux, etc. Whereas Proba 3, it is a mission by the European Space Agency. This was also sent into space by ISRO's PSLV in December, and it has a unique design which studies solar winds and solar storms. Similarly, Punch by NASA, it is first of its kind solar mission that will study solar corona, which is the outermost layer of the sun's atmosphere, and it has 4 identical suitcase-sized satellites which continues to image the sun's inner corona and provides the origin of solar flares. So that is why these 3 are the missions that have sent to study the sun surface. Understood? Now let me see if we can solve this question. The solar cycle, it is a 11-year cycle in which sun's magnetic poles reverse their positions. This is a correct statement. The number of sunspots decreases during the solar maximum and increases during the solar minimum. Is second statement correct? Sir, auroras are magnetic rays. No, these are not magnetic rays. These are when solar flares, they interact with our own magnetic atmosphere or magnetic layer of our atmosphere, ionosphere that is called, then auroras happen. Understood? So technically, if auroras were to happen just by magnetic rays, that could have been visible even from India, right? But that is not possible because these solar flares, they interact with our ionosphere only in the northern and southern part of our globe, right? Second statement is not correct. Yes, as most of you have pointed out, that in case of solar maximum, there will be increase in sunspots, okay, not decrease in sunspots. Now, sun's activity, it is currently high, indicating that it is approaching the solar maximum phase. That is third. First and third is right, second is not. We have to identify correct statement. Option B, therefore, becomes the right question. Yes, Shushmita, Baga, Gibson, you're correct. Yes, Lydia also correct. सुष्मिता ऑल्सो करेक्ट, सनफ्लावर करेक्ट, यशी, ऑल ऑफ यू आर करेक्ट. आज सबको ही भाई मजा ही आ रहा है आज तो. Now let us move to this next article. This actually appeared in the world page of the Indian Express newspaper, and it talks about a key ingredient which is used even in the popular beverages like Coca-Cola, right? So what is this talking about? This is talking about the item or the material called as gum arabic. Now, this gum arabic supply chain, it is actually concentrated in a handful of countries like Sudan, where currently a civil war is going on for many years, and this civil war is happening between Sudan's national army and a paramilitary body known as Rapid Support Forces. So these two bodies are engaged in fighting, and which has actually disrupted the legal supply chain of gum arabic. So the biggest question in your mind must be, what is this gum arabic? कभी तो सुना ही नहीं होगा, right? So आज तो सुन लो. What is gum arabic? It is a natural gum that is derived from the hardened soap of two species of acacia tree, and these are Senegalia senegal and the Vaccalia sale. So please do remember these two names. Even if it is difficult, make a note somewhere. Okay. Now the production of this gum arabic, it is concentrated mostly in Sudan. That is 80% of this production happens in Sudan, followed by other countries in the Sahel region, that is from Senegal to Somalia. Okay. So these are eastern or the central eastern part of the Africa. Now, this gum arabic, it is actually soluble in water and it is edible. Therefore, it has many applications. The most famous example is in the food industry. As the article itself told you, it is used in Coca-Cola. Similarly, these are used in candies, chewing gums as an adhesive agent or as a binding agent. And also, these are used in cosmetics and pharmaceuticals as emulsifiers and stabilizers. Understood? So, that is why these are extensively used in food industry and also in cosmetics and pharmaceutical industry. And the most important characteristic of this material is that it is soluble in water and also edible in nature, right? Sir, why such prolonged unrest in countries like Sudan? Well, you have to understand, for any country, there has to be a strong authority, which in most cases is the government, right? Similarly, US, you can't mess with the US government. In India, you can't mess with the Indian government. Similarly, in Pakistan, there is relatively less unrest as compared to countries like Sudan, because Pakistani army is very powerful, right? So that is why whenever the central authority in the country is not that powerful, rather regional players, they have a equal amount of power, which happened in medieval India. Therefore, we witness significant amount of unrest. That is why government and its policing powers, its defense powers, they are very important if a country has to stay peace for or peace free or a conflict free region. Okay. Now, what is the impact of Sudan civil war on the trade of gum arabic? First of all, the RSF, which is the paramilitary authority, it has seized the key regions which grow gum arabic, and they have taken control of the Kordofan and the Darfur region, which is the main gum harvesting region, in the late 2023, and therefore Sudanese traders of this gum arabic, they have to pay fees to RSF like hafta wasuli to market their products. Also, there is a rise of informal trade routes that is happening, because they can't trade formally, so they are relying on smuggling of these goods into neighboring countries like Egypt, Chad, Cameroon, South Sudan and Kenya, and their traders are selling this gum at a lower price. And why are they selling at a lower price? Because they do not have proper certification. And why do you need proper certification? So as to export it to developed countries where you require certification for the food products, right? Sir, is that used in chewing gum? Yes, it is used in chewing gum. Now let us move to the last article of the day, which is related to delimitation. Now, I remember I covered delimitation extensively on Monday, but that was primarily related to the prelims discussion, right? However, as two articles appeared in today's newspaper, so I felt it bad to leave out this entire discussion for today. So we'll be discussing our today's discussion on delimitation, particularly from mains point of view, right? Now, I've already told you this is an important part of polity syllabus. Therefore, it becomes important from GS paper 2 perspective. Now, the context of this article is actually, there has been a renowned debate on whether or not this delimitation exercise should happen, because this concern was raised by the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. Now, there are political reasons for raising this concern, which is not important for our today's discussion. What is important for our today's discussion is actually to understand what is this delimitation process, or how it affects the number of seats that are available for every state in the Indian Parliament, right? So that is the main issue of conflict between the government of Tamil Nadu and government of India. Now, in this regard, last week the Union Home Minister Mr. Amit Shah, he has already said that the southern states need not worry about even losing a single seat after delimitation. But even after this statement, this number of protests has actually happening in the Tamil Nadu, right? Now, This particular 3-4 slides I've attached in our today's notes. This I've taken from our discussion on Monday, and the purpose of me attaching these slides is to provide you notes at a single place, right? So this tells you about the process of delimitation. You are clear on process of delimitation, right? Delimitation actually takes the data from your census and it understands that the population has increased, so you have to increase the corresponding amount of seats in your Lok Sabha and also in your state legislative assembly, because the reason is that you have to provide equal representation to the amount of people. So for example, if you fix the number of people, that suppose for every 10 lakh population I'll be providing an MP in the parliament. So if the population increases from 10 to 20 lakh, so technically I have to double the amount of MPs in the parliament, right? So this is the logic behind the delimitation, and it actually is done to fix the number of seats allocated to each state in its Lok Sabha and also in the state assembly. And the importance is that the process of delimitation, it actually reflects the population growth trend, and it actually ensures that the equal representation is happening, and it also is looking to prevent the political imbalance that may result despite increase in population, right? So this is the basic parameters of the delimitation process. These are the important constitutional article which provides for delimitation. Article 82 requires parliament to revise the allocation of seats to Lok Sabha after every status. Similarly, in 170 it revises the seats available in the state legislative assembly, whereas the process of delimitation, it happens due to the provisions of the Delimitation Act, which is an act passed by the Indian Parliament. And till date, technically there have been more than 4 instances of census happening, but has every of these census resulted into delimitation? The answer is no. That despite many censuses, total number of delimitation have only happened 4 times, that is through the formation of 4 delimitation commission. And the reason for this was actually during 1970s and 1980s, the biggest cause of concern for both union government and the respective state governments was that India's population was rapidly rising. But we saw that due to higher economic development, particularly the states located in the southern part of the country, their population was growing lesser amount as compared to the northern states. So they expressed their concerns to the union government. So what union government decided by the 42nd Amendment Act, that they actually froze the number of seats in Lok Sabha and Assembly based on the population census of 1971, and this freeze was till the year 2001 census. However, even after 2001 census, the southern states expressed their concern. So this freeze was extended again by 84th Amendment Act till the year 2026. So you can understand the now next delimitation is expected to happen in 2026, and therefore this matter is in the news. Understood? So this is how you revise these important. Now this is also, it tells you the composition of Delimitation Commission. It is a independent body which consists of members from judiciary as well as the State Election Commission and the Chief Election Commissioners. Okay. Now this is the power and functions. Please take a look at the power and functions after I upload the notes, and let me get to the point of our today's discussion. Now let us understand first of all what is the issue related to the delimitation, right? Yes, Lydia, you're right. Actually, in 2002, the latest Delimitation Commission was formed. But the purpose of Delimitation Commission in 2002 was not to change the number of seats in Lok Sabha and the State Legislative Assembly, because that was frozen as per the Constitutional Amendment Act. So did it change the number of seats? The answer is no. What it did is that it revised the boundaries of various constituencies. So it kept the number of seats same, which was actually a concern for southern states. So it did not touch the amount of seats, rather it just revised the boundaries of the constituencies, right? So therefore you can see in larger districts like Mumbai, in Bangalore, you will see there are more than 1 Lok Sabha seats because they have large amount of population, right? So this was the purpose of 2002 Delimitation Commission, that it froze or it did not change the number of seats, it only revised the boundaries of the constituency. Now let us get back to the issues of delimitation. Now what is the biggest issue for delimitation is that there has been an uneven population growth in India. For example, population growth is higher in states like northern part of our country, states like UP, Bihar, West Bengal, they have grown, or the population have grown by higher number, whereas the growth in population has actually reduced in southern states because of their higher developmental and educational status. So because of this uneven population growth in different parts of India, what we have seen that if this delimitation exercise were to happen right now, the number of seats that are available to northern states will increase, whereas similarly the number of seats that are available to southern states, they will decrease, and if they were to increase, they were not increase as much as the increase in number of seats of the northern states, right? So suppose UP has 80 Lok Sabha seats right now. Similarly, Bihar has 40 seats, Maharashtra has 48 seats, whereas Tamil Nadu has 39 seats, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana combined has 42 seats. Karnataka has 28 seats. So you understand there is already a difference between northern states as southern states. But what if the delimitation exercise were to happen after population growth? Northern states have grown more, so this will increase by higher amount and this will increase but by lower amount, right? So therefore it will lead to disproportionate representation in our Lok Sabha. So this is the biggest threat that the southern states have thought, that if the representation will be disproportionate, so how will southern states be able to register the grievances, or even if they register the grievances, will they have the numbers to outlaw any kind of provision brought by the government? No, right? So this will actually lead to threat of federalism, because India already is an asymmetrically federal country. Because if you can see, the seats in Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha, these are allocated as per the population, right? But this actually discriminates the states which have lower amount of population, and with delimitation expected to happen, this will already increase the differences that exist even now. So therefore, there is a threat to federalism in our country. Also, what we have seen, that there is an uncertainty in the seat distribution formula, whether this increase in seat will be in the same ratio as the current ratio, or will it actually mirror the population census of the year 2021. And because of this, there is an increasing political discontent in the southern states, particularly in states like Tamil Nadu, who have actually seen stagnation in their population. So this is actually the biggest cause of concern with the delimitation. And if you're writing the answer related to delimitation, please make sure to follow this sequence, right? Because I have arranged the points in the sequence that first point leads to another, second leads to this, third leads to fourth, and fourth leads to fifth. Do not jumble these numbers if you have to write a good answer. Please remember that. Now, let us understand what is the way forward in order to implement or do delimitation, but also to address the concerns of the southern states. And the first requirement in this regard is actually to cap the number of Lok Sabha seats at 543, right? This is the current number of seats in Lok Sabha, and if we decide to cap this seat, it will actually alleviate the concerns of states like Tamil Nadu. They will have no cause to worry, because their representation will remain as such as it is right now, even after delimitation will happen. And in order to compensate, what we can do is actually increase the seats of state assemblies in respective states. So we are actually providing representation or political representation to people in the state assembly, so also people will not be aggrieved. Now we can also consider a weighted representation model, because states having low amount of population, they can be provided with higher weightage, and therefore it will result into their higher representation in the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assembly. And this actually will alleviate the concerns of states who have low amount of population, or if their population is growing in lesser amount of number. Also, we have to understand that population control is one of the biggest achievement in India, because our population has gone out of control, whereas our resources are not enough to support this huger population. So therefore, states who actually achieve population control, they shall be incentivized similar in the manner like the Finance Commission has done so, right? And also we have to make the decision in order to take delimitation, but that decision has to be consensus based. What is consensus based? That when all of them agree, then only we take that measure. Even if one person has reservation about that policy, we do not take that decision. So therefore consensus is actually essential if we have to go forward with the implementation of delimitation commission, right? Now also a parliamentary debate and review shall happen on this delimitation commission. Actually it is prohibited by the law, but you have to understand that the suggestions given by the delimitation commission, it actually should be debated by the parliament, and this debate should ensure that you have to balance numerical representation with respect to different states, and also you have to ensure that the federal equities happen, that the relations between say center and northern state is not more important as compared to relation between center and southern states. All states are important equally, and we have to ensure that even if the delimitation exercise happens, right? So this is the sum total of suggestions that we need to inculcate in order to make this delimitation acceptable to all the states, right? Because India is a federal country that has state government have an independent constitutional recognition, right? So this is how we will implement delimitation with consensus of everybody, not excluding anyone. Now this is your question. Now these questions have many parts, and I want to see the best answer that it is written today. You have much more information today at your disposal, and you have to complete this answer in 250 words, right? So please submit me your answers by 8 p.m. every day. I will accept answers which come at about 8:10, 8:30, not beyond that, right? So please make sure 3 hours is enough time for you to write an answer. Ideally, it should not take more than 10 to 15 minutes. In exam, you will have less than 10 minutes for every answer, because you have to write 20 answers in 18 minutes. So technically, you have 9 minutes for every answer writing. Okay. Please remember those facts. Please make sure to submit your answers in this particular Telegram channel, ATS Live. And this is your question as a homework for today. We'll see each other tomorrow at 4 p.m. like every day. Until then, please revise. Please make sure to analyze the important articles, and more importantly, keep writing the answers. Okay, so I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, please have a very good evening and a good night.